Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to look at the Penn 4400 SS and try to determine why this fishing reel has failed. This reel does not complete a full cycle and it does not have an oscillation function on it. So we're going to do the problem determination. We're going to see what we can see. I suspect it's a broken crosswind block and or a misinstalled one. And we're going to see if we can't get this repaired or at least get the parts ordered so that we can complete the repair. Now this reel was sent in and I think it was opened up because the side plate screws are loose. And in order for me to work on the reel, I want to tighten those back up for a moment so that I can remove the handle. I just got a question in my, my comment section on a different reel. And the question was, how do I get the handle off? Well, they had removed the side plate, and then all you have is a spinning gear. It's hard to remove, but if you tighten it up and you use the main gear against the pinion gear, you can remove the handle like this. So it goes in a clockwise manner, and that'll remove the handle. Much easier to do it that way than to take the side plate off first and then try to do that. Well, the reel is broken. We're going to remove the pieces and parts so that we can get a good look inside and determine where the reel has failed. So if you like these, while I'm taking off my exterior pieces and parts, if you like these kinds of videos, if you like to learn about a particular fishing reel, if you want to see how to diagnose the problems and how to service the reel, then I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That will help you to see when I am posting the videos, and from those posts you can figure out which ones you want to watch. I work on all kinds of fishing reels, not just Penns, although there's a lot of Penns that do come in. Some folks ask me from time to time, is Penn the only one you work on? Well, I guess when they see the posts they kind of assume that, but no, work on all kinds. Conventional, spinning, bait casting, trolling, all kinds. And this is just one of them. Well, okay, so we remove the, I see it already. We remove the side case. We have a bearing and a main gear. And this one should be relatively easy because I believe that the axle shaft is mounted incorrectly on this one. So we're going to take the two screws out of this one. This is the plate that holds the axle shaft firm, so that when your reel turns, the oscillation function goes up and down. I am seeing a bend in this plate, and that plate should not be bent. What it should be, there's a flat spot on the axle shaft, and I'm trying to be very good here to hold it as it is so that we can see if the flat spot is properly situated, and it's not. You can see that the flat spot is not flat, that there's a hump here. And so when they tried to mount that, well, they bent the clip. And that clip becomes problematic because it won't hold it in. Well, we got two things to do here, but we're going to rebuild the reel. One of them is we got to flatten back the clip so that it works properly. And the second one is we can go service the reel from there. We're going to remove the axle shaft. Now, the axle shaft comes with a spool. To just remove the axle shaft as well, take your button off, pull up, set that to the side, and that's your axle shaft. When I remove my pieces and parts, they go into a parts tray. I use the bottom of a fast food container. And when I use the fast food container, well, this one's two sides, and I just kind of use the corners to separate the different pieces of the puzzle. I have a desk vise, which you can't see here, but right now what I'm doing is I'm just clamping that down so that I can restore the bent piece to flat. I'll put that in. Okay, we should be able to remove our main gear now. This looks like it's a new main gear. I want to check the side over here. I do not believe that there is a screw in here, but I'm getting a little bit of resistance in terms of pulling this away. So I want to do my best here to just check, make sure that there is no screw. Some of the models of the pen did have a screw holding the back side in. This is not one of those. Okay, so we should be able to just pull the main gear out. Okay, well, if you just keep working it, you will get it out. This one came out odd. There is an indentation here which sometimes you can get this main gear out. Other times you can't, and you have to remove that. So we're going to show you how to remove that. It's going to be easier to put it back in that way anyway. But I'm checking now because I want to make sure that the drive on the back of this has all of the teeth and that they're uniform, they're clean, and that they're not chipped or broken. Same thing on the main gear here, and we seem to be okay there. There's a little bit of distortion on this one here. I suspect maybe as it was getting up to the top, that may be a little bit of an issue. We're going to see how that has to perform. Looks like they've used the purple grease, which is usually the quantum hot sauce, and we're going to continue with this. And if you want to just see how that comes back together, you can skip ahead. Right now, we're going to remove the rotor. And once I remove the rotor, I'm going to remove the anti-reverse. That's this collar here. This has got the old-fashioned fingered dog. You're going to find two setups on these reels. You're going to find a setup that has the old-fashioned jaw with the two fingers as a anti-reverse. You're going to find one that has a C-clip holding it to the post. All right, I'm going to take the whole thing off. We're almost there already, so we might as well do that. I'm going to take the screw out of both sides of this. Doesn't look like I'm going to need to order parts. That's the good news, because sometimes this is an older reel. Sometimes those parts just aren't available. But again, if you're having trouble, you can't get the main gear out, this is what you want to do. We're going to remove the collar. You're going to take a picture here because you want to note that the collar looks like a yoke. There's no collar on the bottom side. The bottom side of that collar would interfere with the operation of the anti-reverse. So you need to make sure that when you go to reinstall this, you reinstall it properly. Those go into my parts tray. Now I should be able to just remove the whole assembly. Stack that there for a moment. And this is what you want to take off. And sometimes this is probably a good time to do this because I get a lot of questions sometimes. How is that anti-reverse spring set? That's your picture right there. You got one sticks into the V here and one is under the side there. In order to do that, you need to pull the arm off, or to switch arm. I'm going to take that off. Make it easier to get the other pieces and parts out. There's a little plastic bushing here. Please note that when you go to reinstall, you need that piece. You get a lot of these that have come in saying that I started, now my anti-reverse switch is rough. They've lost that piece. Normally that happens because you pull out on this. When you remove the shaft, you're going to remove the shaft by pushing up. The shaft is bent too, I've noticed that. I suspect that maybe somehow a little bit of torsion on that thing. You can see it's not square. I'm going to put that in a vise and just see if we can't square it up as well. I don't want to go crazy with this because this is just an aluminum piece. If you try to do too much with this aluminum piece, you're going to have some trouble. Alright, well it's not everything, but it's close. Notice on the override shaft you have your spring. There's a very small hole in that shaft that accepts that long piece of the spring. Alright, with that piece out, we can take the rest of the assembly out. There's a gear and a lever in there. Just going to get that spring attached. There's the crosswind block, crosswind gear. And I'm unsure whether this bail is tripping either. This looks like it's in an odd position for tripping. Yeah, that's usually the result of I'm not seeing any kind of I'm guessing tension on this one. We'll see what we can do with the bail later. Alright, well the whole idea here was get this reel working first. And now that we have everything apart, I think the owner has cleaned this case up, or at least cleaned it up enough. This is your gear stack. You have the pinion gear, a bearing, and a spacer. I'm going to oil the bearing. I'm going to grease the pinion gear as soon as I find my grease brush. And once I located my grease brush, we'll go ahead and we'll use fishing reel grease. I use Penn Precision reel grease. After inspecting all of the teeth, make sure that they're uniform, not bent or cracked or chipped. Put a nice coating of grease onto that shaft. And then we can kind of reverse this process. Go ahead and put that back in, make sure it seats nicely. Then we have our collar. It goes in next. Remember what we said, it goes away from that anti-reverse. Collar screws. This is a very durable reel made with high quality parts. It's kind of what gave Penn SpinFishers the reputation it well deserves. So if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, if you want to leave them in the comments section, I will try to answer those for you. They don't have to be on this reel, it doesn't even have to be on a spinning reel. Maybe you're working on one like this one and you're stuck and you can't quite figure it out. This one would probably be hard to answer based on a description that says, well, my reel doesn't go up and down. There's a lot of issues in the oscillation system itself. But you do know from what the description was here that it is based on the oscillation. So leave the question. I will try to answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know it, well, I'll try to point you to someone who may know it, or a resource or something. Maybe it's where do I get the part if I needed the part. And I can share that with you. All right, that's done. Took a little bit more time than it normally does. Next up then, I think what we want to do next, we got the anti-reverse system. That's clear of this, so we can go ahead and do that. You want to make sure that your anti-reverse dog, it's friction driven, is, you want to pinch this down a little bit. It needs to grab. Sometimes over the course of its use, those will widen out a little bit. Make sure that it's snug and that it fits like that. You want to see the beak of the anti-reverse dog against the angle on that anti-reverse dog collar. Then you got a little bit of an aligning thing to do. You got two flat sides on your rotor. You need to align that with your dog, and it goes over just like that. And you can test it at this point. You can pull and then turn backwards. I don't know if you can see that. Turn backwards, it'll show you how it's working. All right. I'm going to go down below now. Again, these pieces look pretty clean. I'm thinking this was a problem all in the reassembly, particularly since the side cape screws were loose and all. I'm going to get rid of that purple grease. I'm going to put some regular Penn grease on there. I don't care which grease you use, and if this is quantum hot sauce, that's fine. I just care that you use fishing reel grease. I've opened up a lot of reels and found all kinds of interesting things in there. You should stick with fishing reel grease. It's not that expensive, and in the end, it's what it's engineered to do. All right, we want to get the grease into the slot and on the back of the crosswind block. Notice how I've positioned that below. I want to do that so that I can get the axle shaft in and tied down without having to remove my gears. All right, the main gear here, again, it's been cleaned. I'm just going to wipe that one little part off there. I did note that there is one or two very minor bent teeth here, and you want to check these teeth from both sides, face side, and you want to check the angles on them. If they're not sharp, that's where you will get some deterioration in the performance. Once you do that, go ahead and put some grease on it. Make sure you get it on that, and then make sure you get it on the back drive of the gear. That's the one that's going to interface with the crosswind gear. That can go in next. Just like that. And now we can put the shaft in for this anti-reverse override lever. You need to do two things here. You need to kind of aim it, look through your case, make sure that you're coming into the hole below. Try it again. So, a long time ago when I was getting started in all of this, a fella said, you know, you need a couple of things to be good at this. You need patience, a sense of humor, and not being afraid to fail. All right, you notice how I've got it in there now. We're way out of line in terms of where it belongs. You want to bring this over as much as you can. Line it up with that notch in the spool, or the holder, and then pull and push down, just like that. That's how you set it. So you start it way over here, you line up that tab into the V, you push this down while turning counterclockwise. That's how you will set the spring. Once you set the spring, go ahead and find that grommet or bushing. Push that in, find your arm. This is why the parts tray helps. It's also why pictures help. And get your tie down screw there. Well, we're going a long way here to solve what probably would have been just go flatten out the metal piece and make sure that your axle shaft is in place, but I don't like to just solve a particular problem. I like to make sure that the reel is fully serviced. And even though it looks like it was serviced and it was just a problem with the misinstall on the way back in, you're never quite sure, so it doesn't hurt to just do it all over again. It doesn't take that much more time, and you can rest assured that you've pretty much done it correctly. All right, so we have our main gear, we have the anti-reverse installed again, now we have the anti-reverse override. Next up then, we want to deal with this bail, because I think that there's a problem with the bail, and it has to do with a bent bail. So I'm going to remove the screw that's holding the bail arm in, and I think what I'm going to see is this wire is badly bent. There's a lot of tension on this spool. I just felt it right there when I took it out. You can see how misaligned this is. Well, we don't have the spring either. All right. It's more than just the issue there with the bail, so let's go underneath here. This is a kind of a tough setup under this one. I'm wondering if we even have the spring in here right now. There's two springs in here. There's a cam that comes out from underneath, and there's a spring that drives to the lever itself. And just be careful as you go to open this up. You don't want anything shooting. Well, the setup is right. Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything wrong there, so I'm going to go put that back in. Again, if you're feeling that something is not right, don't just close it up or accept it. At least check. I do know that there's a lot of tension in the bail wire. Maybe that's enough. All right, if you have tension in your bail wire, and you can see this is not a perfect arch by any means, you can see we were off by 1/4 of an inch or so, you need to rebend your bail wire. Just grab it firmly in your palm and pull in this case. Probably got knocked on a gun wall or something of a boat. You can see we just got closer there just doing that. It's wire, it's malleable. And that's all it takes. It's not much. You have to play around with it. You want to get it to the point where there's no tension and that your seam is firm against it. I think we got it. We're going to go ahead and grab the little collar that goes on there. Grab the screw. I've got to check the diagram. This just shouldn't work like this. I mean, we've got it easy, but that should snap back. I think we're missing a screw. I'm going to shut this off for... Okay, I shut that off for a moment there to go and take a look at the schematic. And I found that the spring action is really on this side. I work on so many of these, you kind of forget some of those things. So let's find out if the spring is even in there. And if it is in there, if it's loaded properly. To access that, you want to pull the screw back a little bit. We're just going to take a look inside at the moment. I suspect that it's not loaded properly or it's missing. All right, so it's not loaded properly, so we'll show you how to do that. So the spring is here. You'll notice that the spring, in this case, is loaded on the bottom here. That's not where it belongs. It belongs in the hole right there where my little clip is. So we'll go to show you how to do that then. So it's always a mystery. You start with one thing because the piece isn't going properly, and you wind up, well, finding out that there's more than one issue there. All right. We want to grab our length. On the back end of this, you're going to find a hole in the back end of the piece. I don't know why. We get a channel full of grease here. That's only going to congeal and kind of stop the spring. You do not need to grease springs. Put a drop of oil on there to stop it from possibly rusting or something. I guess you could do that. All right. We saw that this was nestled below. It was in a cavity down here. That's not where it belongs. This one belongs in the hole here. Just like that. Belongs up top. There, not there. Now you'll notice we have the tag end is hanging out here. Find the hole in the back side, put it on the stud. Press down now to load the spring. And this takes a little bit of hand strength. Once you get that started, you're going to have to do two things. You got a collar on this here, so you're going to tighten it down as much as you can. You need the right screwdriver. And then before you go tighten it much more, grab that little cover plate to make sure that you seat that properly underneath. Go ahead and put the slot back on that. Well, we're lucky here in that we didn't have to go get any parts. The parts were there, they just were misinstalled or uninstalled. And that makes a big difference. All right, we're still on here. Now you want to tighten this down the rest of the way. And now we should have a bail that fires. Yep. Easy enough. All right, well, let's go back to the game then. All of this for a misinstalled crosswind block cover. Rotor goes on. Now this is a square. There's an inset and a square here. You need to align them. You need to sit in there nice and easy. And we can tighten down on the rotor nut. And you want to start your rotor nut by hand. You don't want to cross strip this one. And you can finish tightening it with the wrench. All right, we're back to the axle shaft, which is where this thing all went wrong to begin with. I'm going to wipe that down. Grab your grease brush. And all you need is a very light coat of grease on this. Don't put any more and you're only going to scrape it out. Find the flat side of the axle shaft. Load that in and down and make sure it is flat in that crosswind block facing out. So what we saw is the other one got bent because it wasn't flat. It got reshaped. Now we're going to reinstall it with the flat side facing in. So this is a mistake that I've seen done more than once, and I think it goes with what I usually say: if you're having trouble with the screw, do not force anything. And I think what we found here is this had to be forced by screwing in these screws in order to bend it around the round side of the axle shaft. If it's not going in easy enough, I know easy enough is a relative term. If it's not going in easy, please stop, get yourself reset before you do it again. I don't have that hole quite lined up there. So what have we done? We've done a couple of things here. We've identified what the issue is, found another issue with the bail, kind of worked to solve for tuning up the reel. And we're ready to show you how to take off and reset your anti-reverse side of it. And we'll put that cover back on. It's nice and easy. 3 cover screws next. So I know we've been dragging this one on because we encountered a lot more problems than we thought we were going to have initially. But again, I want to remind you, if you do like these kinds of videos, please subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button. That will help you to know when I'm doing particular fishing reel videos, and well, you can see if it's one of the ones you would like to watch. Well, it looks like from what I'm seeing on my camera, I need to change a battery. So we're going to finish this piece. I'm going to shut it off for a moment, and then we'll come right back with the battery, the new battery. All right, they're all tightened down. Okay, fresh battery, we're ready. One more thing, check the drag washer in here. It's a circular ring that holds this on. Just find one of these slots where you can work a pick or something behind it. It is a spring, be careful with it. There should just be one drag washer in here. There is. And the drag washer is in good condition. If you found it was dirty or that, you can take a brush and you can just work it over it. That'll work any kind of old greases and that out of there, or dirt. And it'll restore the cross hatching on that drag washer. If it was worn, of course, you want to replace it, but this has got plenty of life left in it, so there's no need to go replace that. I recommend that you check your drags with every service. And we have the flat. Now we have our ring. There's a slot in the top of the spool here. You want to make sure that you seat it in there. This is not a very difficult piece. Not a hard spring. There you go. All right, let's put the spool back on. Let's go to spool adjuster. We got a whole bunch of things to test. Is the reel going up and down? Is the reel turning? Is the bail working? All those little things add up. Tighten this down, make sure that the drags are tight. They are. And back it off after you're done. Put the handle on next. Give it a test. Do we have an oscillation? We do. Do we have a bail trip? We do. But we also have a little bit of a grind going on there. I suspect that's where that gear, where I saw the scarring on the gear is, right up on the top stroke. Remember, that big gear goes 1 to 1, so that big gear is going to go around once. If you find that there's an issue with the reel at a particular spot in the cycle, that sounds like a gearing issue, it's going to be on the main gear. If you find that it happens sporadically at different cycles, then it's going to be on the oscillation gear. Well, here we've got right there, about, let's say, 1/2 inch down, and there you go again. So I suspect something happened that got forced, chewed up those teeth, and well, that's what you get in this one. Okay, we're going to have to, the only solution to this is to replace the main gear. I'm not even sure if that's available. I'll tighten the arm on the bail down, make sure that the bail trips easily enough, and we're going to have to go see if parts are available on this one. So I hope you've enjoyed that. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. To all of our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. And have a great day.